Do you guys know the board game Disney Villain? It looks a lot like this because, well, this is the game. And if you really like this, well, they sell some additional things for it. And the only problem with that is, well, all of these don't fit into that box. I mean, they could if I just, threw everything in there super loose-like. Yeah, that would have been an easier thing to do. But I've got a 3D printer, so I had to dabble with it. So what you do is you sit down, you design everything that you think needs to be part of it, and you send it off to your printing buddy, and you're like, hey man, want to print this off for me? And they look at it and they go, I have a few ideas. So a couple brain session bits later, you come up with something that looks like this. And you know what? This actually works. With a few notes. As in, a week after getting it printed off, I came up with all these ideas on how to change it. Which is normal. For example, the pieces... Oops, let me just grab them. The player pieces go in here, but you got to dig out deep for it. The player boards go here, some extra storage space, the decks, and then the coin thingamabobber. But, after you originally do the revision 2, you go to make a box for this custom thing because, you've got to make a new cardboard box for the game that matches the design. So you design it, but then you get copyright identified by the company that used to print because you put Disney on the box because you're trying to make it look as authentic as possible, and you're not licensed by Disney to actually make any merchandise, and even though you said, hey, this is just a one-off print, they didn't do it. I mean, good on the company, but not good for me. So months go by with this sitting on your plate, and eventually you get a bigger printer, and it allows you to make the big custom thing that you wanted to do months ago. So you do that, but you got a new printer. So you learned that a lot of filament on the printing bed makes it heavier to move, and if you don't tension the belts properly, well, you get layer shifts. If you have a new printer, you probably don't know how to put in new filament mid-print, especially if it's a new type of design. And then you try your old printer just to see what you can get going, but you realize you've had issues and kind of spurred you to get the new printer. But don't worry, I went back and fixed this. And then you print this glorious model off. You're like, hey, this looks perfect. Only to realize that the model you originally did started with this being horizontal, not vertical, and now all of a sudden the dimensions that you didn't double check have come back to bite you because the cards don't actually fit in here. And then when you go and remodel it to print it off again and you select it on the printer now has recent prints, and you just happen to name it the exact same thing because it's the exact same thing. And you caught it midway through, so luckily it didn't reprint this again. But then it brings you to this, the thing that you fully realize. It's got all the cards, it's got the things, the player boards, it's got the tokens here, the player things, and if you take pieces off, it's got storage underneath. And if you're thinking the same thing that I'm thinking, yes, I did come up with more improvements to make to this model after I just printed it successfully after a week of trying. But I digress. I'm super happy with how this turned out. There's definitely a few things I'd like to change, but the main issue is I need a box for this. Also, as I was moving this over, I found that this could stack pretty nicely if I just make a few tweaks, and I feel like having a taller box instead of a super long and wide box would be easier. I mean, I knew that going in, but I wanted everything to be open and viewable. Me putting this stacking feature on top of it was like a push to have more storage. So I'm okay with this. Now the main thing is I need to get a box for this. I have the design that I originally did. I know what the dimensions for this box need to be. I just need to find somebody who can print it off for me. It's too big to where I can't take it to a local print shop for some reason and just make a cardboard box and just glue this on top, print off the design and glue it on top. Part of me wants to make a 2-part box, essentially. Make it a box itself as a plastic box, cut it into 2, and then, join it, and then just make the box as well, because why not? I've made everything else. But if you have an idea of what I should do to bring this all together, or just want to comment and say, oh, just make fun of me for all the filament I wasted, that's a totally option that's available to you too. I'm running out of words. Yeah, let me know what you guys think.